Magical Matthew Mercer.
Okay, we are live and fully live. I have to get my. All right.
That
Chat's
looks
open
good.
on
I
the
like it.
phone.
Bless.
Um, Lovely to see Bronwyn again. It's been a while. uh, and yeah, so quick recap. Last session, the party made their way back from the Half a Mug Tavern. Did a little bit of boss talk, right? Didn't didn't we have some? I know we had a Zerka conversation. Do we have a Barnabas conversation as well? No. Okay. Um, we had a brief Zerka conversation, and then the next morning,
We also
Pierre.
went and questioned the guards.
Yes, you did question the guards. Um, didn't get a whole lot there. Most of them didn't see much. It was just a running crowd. Um, that next morning, Ren sent Pierre in the form of a weasel, right?
Yeah.
In the hour-long journey that it took a weasel to get from the Mage's Tower to the Half a Mug Tavern, only for Pierre to arrive at roughly the same time that y'all got there the day before, with some nice acrobatics and stealth checks. Pierre was able to hide in the rafters, mostly unseen, and get a little bit of information. Specifically, that the group that y'all are observing is called the Light Hands. Just as DM, I don't think y'all have hard evidence connecting them to the execution, but y'all have certainly decided that they were connected. Anyway, and you saw a halfling man, I believe it was a halfling man, come in and request something, and then the woman who he referred to as Miss Erin gave him an amount, or told him an amount of 5 gold, and he left seeming somewhat relieved, but also very nervous. Shortly thereafter, a human-sized person came in, who Pierre never was able to see his face. There was a very silent conversation that happened, that ended with Miss Erin storming out of the tavern, having not accepted the bag of, one would assume, gold, from this tall stranger wearing a brown cloak.
All.
Taller than most of the people, other than the barkeep. Taller than most of the people.
Generally human elf-sized person.
Yes. Not a tall human elf-sized person, just human or elf-sized.
So someone who could be 5'7".
Potentially. Depending on the shoes they're wearing, I guess. So yeah, I believe we left off right as Ren called Peerback, correct? All right. So that's where we're going to pick
Just
up.
about, yes.
I need to go grab my water. I will be right back. And that is where we will.
Yeah.
This thing is such, like, I mean this in the best way. This thing is such an eyesore.
So you see it and you remember to drink your water?
Yeah.
See, I liked it because I liked the brightness of it, and then also I liked how there was so much texture that you could, like, stim with it. If you wanted to.
Yeah, it's really easy to fuck around with.
I have my dice cup that I could play with if I wanted to.
I have my.
No, so I posted a TikTok about my cup. See how
I
many views
saw.
it has. It has a lot of views.
I'm one of them.
I am also one of them.
Oh, yay. Has 38,000 views. And almost 3,000 likes.
My guy.
I've never
Solid.
even kind of gotten close to that many. My next highest
So
is
apparently-
900.
Apparently, D&D TikTok is, where to be.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the party is, I believe, still in Ren's room. And there was also a conversation that happened off stream between Henry and Call that perhaps will be discussed now.
Because we weren't going to sit there for 4 hours in silence. So.
Correct. They had to talk about something.
Yeah.
We'll have at it.
All
Alright.
right. So, to my understanding, Ren has just woken up.
Mhm.
Yep.
All right, let's go.
Ren, how did it go? Like, what happened?
So, Ren is honestly just gonna report everything that Pierre saw. So it would take Jenny the player a long time, and y'all know what happened last time, so he's just gonna detail, like, okay, yeah, Pierre snuck in successfully. There was the same woman, her name appears to be Erin, Miss Erin. There was a Jenny took notes somewhere. She came into contact with 2 different people, and okay, actually, where are my notes? Why don't I have them with me right now? But yeah, there was. Ren's not really super clear on what kind of service she was offering, but it was going to appear to cost this halfling man like 5 gold, right? It'll be 5 gold and it'll be once, I think is what she said. And yeah, so Ren's just gonna kind of like repeat that, and not sure what to make of it. And then the roughly human or elf height person who came in completely concealed, I think gloves and everything. Yeah, silent, didn't look like either of them were talking. Ren's not sure if there was like a psychic conversation or if they were just staring at each other. But there was a bag of money that the man placed on the table, made a, kind of balancing scales gesture, Miss Erin looked infuriated. Her dwarf bodyguard was sweating bullets, and she left without a word or without taking the pouch. So, we've seen a few people, like in the 2 times that we've like seen her one way or the other, we've seen some people thanking her profusely, and leaving, and we're not sure what is going on there exactly. But yeah, anyway, he's just gonna kind of. Y'all aren't saying anything, so I'm just gonna.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
He just tells y'all everything that happened.
Wow. Did sorry, words. Was there any distinct features about the taller person?
The roughly human elf's height person.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing except that this person was
Roughly human elf height?
roughly human elf height, completely concealed, and very, very sneaky. Pierre looked away once to check out. Just looked away once, and when her head turned back, the guy was gone. So
Jesus.
yeah. So yeah. Not sure how many people like that we know. Not to draw any, conclusions or anything.
Obviously not.
Obviously not.
Well, I want to figure out what kind of service they provide. I mean, because if we don't know what service they provide, for all we know, we could be chasing a bum lead. If it turns out that they do something entirely unrelated from what we think, it's entirely possible we've just stumbled across something that has nothing to do with the execution. But also, I guess I'm not quite sure how that would necessarily help with understanding a relation to Vist.
Well, didn't I mean, it's possible it's a bum lead. I mean, this lead came from somebody who isn't exactly a reliable source, but they could be a reliable source. But it's the only thing we have to go off of, and since there's literally nothing else that we can look into, I say we just go at it with our full force, right?
I
Oh,
definitely agree, but
there were some other patrons at the bar that we saw last time that we saw again this time. There was the. Oh my goodness, it was like an elf. Was it a half elf
the
at the bar?
Genasi?
There was the Air Genasi, and then there was also the one at the bar
Yes,
who
half
was
elf.
tinkering. Yes, the half elf. I can never remember the name for them. It's not Arcanist, it's not Alchemist, it's Anarchist.
Artificer.
Artificer?
Artificer, there we go. Fuck. So yeah, definitely.
Anarchist works.
So yeah, Anarchist works. I know what that means. But yeah, so an artificer.
Now I'm just picturing Orin as an anarchist.
That's what I've
Yeah.
been doing.
The whole
We don't know
time.
his political affiliations.
He supports free education.
Yes.
As he should. So let's see. But yeah, basically, our lead to this tavern was essentially that there was a deal with these same people who were present at the execution that was expected to go down at this tavern, correct?
Say that
So
again. I didn't understand what you said.
we were going to the tavern in the first place because we were told that there was a deal going down that we suspected involved the same people who interfered at the execution.
Mhm.
So it could possibly be Miss Erin. That seemed to be like the person doing deals
Mhm.
at the tavern, but there could have been someone else. For now, that looked like a big enough event that it is worth following that lead. Yeah?
I just thought of something,
Yeah.
and I want to say it as Asher because I don't know if Henry would have thought about this. We can decide that after I tell y'all. What if? Because my first thought when playing this last time was that the human half elf person was the one who hired the people for the job for Vist, but Miss Erin didn't want to do another deal with them because they were involved with this execution. What if, because she seems to have a service of probably different services with different skills of people, and what if the Hearts knew this and Trent is the one who hired them to disrupt the execution so that Vincent didn't die because you saw how freaked out they were during the execution. What if, because they felt so guilty, they wanted it to be interrupted in a way that wasn't connected to them? And but then since so many people died and it was such a shit show, Miss Erin is like, no, I'm not gonna do another deal with you.
I see where you're going with that. I'm not convinced that that's what the Hearts would do. The execution happened so fast, and it was so surprising to the Hearts that I don't think they would have had time to arrange that deal. And also, if they had arranged something to have Vist saved, I don't think Chels would have looked that freaked out. Also, honestly, I do not expect that Trent has ever felt guilt in his life. So
Yikes.
yeah.
Okay, that's
yeah.
fair. That's fair. I guess we also don't know how good of an actress the Chels is, but you're probably right. Okay.
Part of me is, yeah, I don't think Chels would have been acting for anyone at that point either. Like she had no audience to be freaked out for. But
I mean, she did have an audience, everybody there. And remember, Kenda asked Ren when talking about the hearts, saying something like, um, you've had the most experience with them of somebody that I could talk to, and I want to know what she might have let slip when she thought no one was looking, kind of thing, and if she's acting or if she's not acting. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
not really. I feel like I should. I remember Kenda asking Kenda asking Ren, "What do you think of the Hearts?" And then when Ren was like, "Hey, why did you ask me that?" That was kind of a specific question. Kenda was like, basically like, "Yeah, yeah, pretty much what you actually just said, just rephrasing it a little bit." But yeah, I do remember when Kenda was saying that, Asher. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what she said. It was something like along those lines, though, of like Kenda wanted to know about the hearts, and I don't know. Maybe I'm being too conspiracy theory about it.
No, this is Storgard. I think we don't have to rule out conspiracy theories. But
Hmm. Okay. Do y'all have any? Because I know that we've all been thinking about this. Do y'all have anything that you think that Colin Red would actually say about this?
Ren at the moment would be really trying to not draw any messy conclusions because really wouldn't want to waste time with, he wouldn't want to waste time with that.
Mhm.
And he wanted to know what y'all thought as well.
At the moment, I think Call is mostly upset about the lack of any additional avenues of investigation. Call doesn't like that there is only one trail to follow right now. So, that's not something that they're particularly thrilled about because it makes it feel like if they're on the wrong track, that they're just way further away from their starting point in the wrong direction.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
So,
not
Carl's
like
not drawing any conclusions right now.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Ren suspects that the Hearts know more about what happened at the execution, but we can't really go ask the Hearts.
I mean, we could, but it doesn't mean it would go well.
No.
I mean, Henry's still friends with them. He could go ask them anything.
Henry could try. I mean,
It'd be very entertaining. Good fucking luck, my guy.
I don't think he would ask them anything. Unless it's like we literally had nothing, you know?
I think at this point, Call still would be way too hesitant to make to even theorize. I think Call wants to keep doing research on the light hands and what that situation looks like. And just kind of see how it evolves, because even if they end up not being related, they still end up they look useful and they look interesting. So it would still be worth exploring. Also worth seeing if they're a potential ally. So, I don't remember if Call mentioned it in the last session. But they're probably going to go ahead and either say for the first time or remind everybody that Dirk is also on this case, but doing a separate avenue of investigation to see what comes of it. So we may not be entirely without in this situation, no matter what comes of our end.
That's good to know.
Yeah. I'm thinking about leads in general too, and what we saw from the people who came to the execution is that one, they were willing to kill and possibly die to save Vist. Two, we said that the spellcaster looked remorseful when she couldn't save Vist. So wondering if Vist was personally connected to these people, and if so, if we should be looking more into Vist. And we knew that Vist was captured by Trent in like a warehouse or a dockhouse. What was it?
I think it was a warehouse.
It was a warehouse?
I think it was a warehouse, yeah.
So where was Vist? What is Vist doing? Because that's something we're sure to have. Like, if we can find anything along, the roots of, like, what was Vist doing and, like, who was Vist hanging out with, then that would be more certainly tied to the execution than, one deal we might have seen going down in a tavern that might have been related. Which I think is still a good path to follow. But I think that's another thing, just looking into Vist himself.
You beautiful, beautiful, Beautiful moth. Thank you. This is very good.
Who says that? What?
I was not intentionally quoting, but I assume Leslie Knope.
Oh, I think it's like, yeah. Because she definitely calls Antonin like a beautiful tropical fish or something. So,
She says shit like that all the time.
yeah, so moth definitely fits in there. So was Ren saying that last bit of like, let's look into
Yes.
Vist? Okay. I think Henry says, well, I remember they said that he had some stolen items with him. What if he, because, you know, drawing parallels to what Ren was saying of the spellcaster looking remorseful, like as if she was his friend or, you know, knew him personally. What if Vist was part of the Light Hands? Because if Light Hands, you know, is directly like thieving, you know, Light Hands, I mean, at least maybe if that's at least one of the things that they will do, then it's possible that he was one of their own.
Yeah. I think that's a strong possibility.
Okay, so I mean, we do have things that we can do. Like we can go find out more about the poison that the guards. Because if we can find out what the poison is that is inside the guards, then we might be able to visit like an apothecary or something in the district around the Half-a-Mug to see if they know what it is. Or if we don't want to do that, I could ask one of druids. Druids would know? Or we could ask Orin. Orin is a chemist, alchemist.
Anarchist.
And then we might be able to find a lead from the poison, and if we can connect that to the Light Hands at all. But what is our plan for going back in human form? Are we going to do lunch in a few days? Is that what we talked about?
Lunch in a day or two seems like a safe idea.
I thought y'all talked about
At-
going around dinner time, just
Mm.
because y'all
Oh,
already
today?
were there, or no, not like today, but I thought y'all were talking about going at dinner time the next time you go, because then you'd
Yeah.
be hitting it at a different time of day.
Yeah, I think that's
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that's good. Yeah, as long as we're keeping our avenues of investigation open on all fronts, I think this could be very useful. And I do like the idea of tracking more information on Vist himself. I think that way, if we come across more information about the Light Hands, it'll be a much more solid lead that the Light Hands were related to Vist.
Mhm.
And then I feel that our at that point, an investigation into them seems like a much more solid and concrete lead. So let's pretend Carl's more articulate than Bronwyn right now.
I'm gonna
feel
say
like
that
that
as a
about
general
Ren.
rule for me and Henry. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
What?
same. We're all same boat there.
Yeah.
It's like,
Okay.
yeah, I say this, but my character says it better.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll go with that.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
appreciate it, guys.
Eh.
Okay. In that case, what is our next step from here?
I think after like that, conversation kind of, settles, we're like, yeah, we've, come to our conclusions and stuff and like, okay, cool. and there's a beat. I think Ren is still kind of like sitting cross-legged on his bed or something like that, and he's gonna reach over to like his bedside table and pull like there's a pair of earrings out of the drawer, and he's gonna look at Call and ask, "Would you pierce my ears?" Like just that.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
I don't know. Call has that like cool little needle earring and stuff, so everyone's like, "Yeah, it's time. It's time to get my ears re-pierced." So
Oh my god, that's
Yeah.
exact. I was literally like, Call could just be like, okay, you ready?
yeah, no, Ren is definitely like that. Just like press you to like sterilize the needle or whatever. Like, yeah, let's fucking go. So
Okay. Call's gonna ask, or Call's gonna be like, do you need to do you want to numb your ear or anything
fine.
like that, or? Okay.
It's-
Okay.
what, like it hurts?
All right. So Call's gonna ask if there is anything in the room that can be used as like a backer to hold Ren's earlobe in place, because something like kind of
Like a
like a pincushion.
yeah, like a pincushion. I don't think Ren has a pincushion. Hmm.
Oh, I think Henry has one in his bag of joy. One
Oh
second.
my fucking god, yeah. So
He
yeah,
probably
fucking
does.
Henry coming in
Cool.
clutch.
all right, we're gonna pierce Ren's ears.
Henry, my darling little pack rat.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, he has one.
Fantastic. So Carl's gonna go ahead and borrow that from Henry, and kind
Stab
of
your friend in the face.
carefully hold that there, yeah, and get all up in Ren's personal space, and kind of probably like press in a little bit to just be like, okay, is this where you want? Like, how does this feel? Higher, lower, etc., etc.
Ren gives appropriate feedback.
Okay. And Call's gonna be that person who says, okay, on 3, and then does it on 2.
Same. I did that in biology class.
Good job.
Okay. So yeah.
Yeah, so Call is excitedly helping with this right now, actually.
All right. And then Ren has a pair of earrings that he's been holding on to for, I don't know, like 5 or 6 years. So yeah, just has those. Because Ben said I could have them. So thank you, Ben.
What do they look like?
They're gold. They do dangle a little bit, and they're kind of not quite rectangular, but they have sort of abstract designs in them. One looks more like it has kind of a sun design. The other looks more like it has something of like a moon design, like engraved into like the overall shape of it.
Cute.
So
if Call is this close to Ren's face, is Call going to realize that Ren has had his ears pierced before? Or anything like that? Or whether he has?
I mean, I think it closed up pretty well. Also, where are my dice? My dice are in the kitchen. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave that one totally to Jenny for a couple reasons, not the least of which being I have no idea how completely earring holes heal.
For example, I mean, this is slightly different because mine is cartilage, but I have 2 earring holes right here that closed up in like 2018, 2019, and you can still see very noticeable divots where the piercing used to be. So it's cartilage, so it's not quite the same, but even though these holes have been closed for like 4 years, it's still a very noticeable divot.
Your microphone's up, Jenny.
Yeah, there might be like a small, noticeable part, but yeah, Ren's had his ears pierced before.
Hell yeah. I think given that and the fact that Ren already had earrings in hand, Call's probably just gonna ask, like, oh, okay, like, you already had these ready?
They're really pretty. Where are they from?
Mhm.
My parents gave them to me.
Really?
Do y'all want to go to the library?
Yeah.
Sure, that would be great.
Nerd.
Call's gonna kind of just toss Henry a look, like,
Yeah, Henry definitely looks like all like, okay, I guess we're not talking about this.
I'm not avoiding questions. You're avoiding questions.
We talked about Ren's bullshit like first. So yeah, like okay, throughout the whole campaign it was like, ah yes, Ren's dark secret and everything like that. And we're like, well, we're going to Shadowfell. And there's a gate, and then like, oh wait a second, Call, what happened here? Like, oh, Henry, are you okay? What's happening here? So yeah, we just start Ren stuff early, so let him have this. So yeah, we going to the library?
Yes.
Sure. What do you want to go to the library for? Henry starts
I
like
have-
packing up, like as if he's getting ready to go,
Okay.
while asking that.
Yeah, Ren is probably like in barely more than his pajamas, honestly. He had an early morning. So yeah, he's gonna pack up and get ready to go, and he's gonna say, I need to see Orin, and I think I need to see Orin. I have to pick up something for my friend. And I wanted to do some more general research.
Ooh, what friend?
Yeah.
Ren kind of holds up the ring out of his pocket. Reading material.
Oh.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Also, general research on what? Maybe I can help.
Well, I was thinking about the history of Storgard in general. I'm not sure how it was built entirely. I heard I want to know if there's something under the city.
Like underground?
Yeah. That's all I have to go on it. But I want to know, because if there is something under the city, I worry that different factions that we have had to be concerned about might use that in some way or another.
So you're not just concerned that, there is a nebulous something under the city, you're concerned about a more specific something.
Kind of. I want to know if there's something under the city to begin with. I know it doesn't make much sense now, but I'm hoping to piece this together.
Okay. Yeah. I'll definitely help with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll help too. Do you think it's related to the Thieves Guild and that war?
I'm not sure. If there is something under the city, I feel like I really know that this isn't making much sense right now, but
That's okay. You don't have to explain. I just wanted to ask.
I just feel like with the scale of the issues and factions that we've been dealing with, I don't know, especially like since we found the book and what Orin found in the book and what we calculated what the damage could be from the things that Orin found in the book. I feel like a network underneath the city would be very, very bad paired with that. kind of referencing like the whole like, you know, flammable gas kind of thing. And Ren is like, yeah, that's been haunting my nightmares for weeks. So, but yeah, Ren, like, he absolutely knows he's not making sense right now, and he's having trouble narrowing it down. But like, he's very weirdly interested in learning if there's something underneath the city right now.
I think Henry takes Ren's hand just like as like a comforting gesture, and goes, just like nods.
Thank you. Yeah, I think sort of looking into like, I can't. Okay. It will be hard to collect any more information on like criminal activity where, you know, the Light Hands might have been concerned, short of like looking into like guard records, which we couldn't really get into. And I'm not sure how much of that would be public information in the library. So it might be a little bit more difficult to find something specifically about the Light Hands. But as far as other things go, like with the Thieves Guild, I still really want to know what happened there. And so let's get going.
Yeah. I think before we leave Ren's room, Henry says, I mean, if we want to find out more about the Light Hands, we could just go to the neighborhood, strike up a conversation with someone, and casually mention Miss Erin and see if the person reacts.
I'd be very careful about that because we don't even know what Miss Erin is associated with, so we don't know what we'd be implying by mentioning her.
Sure.
And yeah, and like how that would make us look. I think it would be a good idea to talk to Dirk and see if he's found anything.
Right now, Zerka actually wants to keep the avenues of investigation separate to see what we come up with individually.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
All right. Library it is.
Library. Okay.
Library, and then do we perhaps want to pop once again back by the guard tower to see which warehouse Vis was arrested at?
Good
Yes.
thought.
Alright, let's do that.
Okay, so y'all are heading to the library first?
Yes, we are.
Alright. Well, just because y'all are traveling from one place to another and I like to do it, can I just have everybody roll me a perception check?
Nat
Nat
one.
20.
Nat 20? And was that a real Nat 1 or a joke Nat 1?
A
Real
real
Nat
Nat one.
Okay.
Wow!
I think Henry might be caught up in his previous conversation. Caught up thinking about his previous conversation.
God, that just
27.
happened. You're right.
Oh, Henry?
And what did Call get?
27.
27. And just checking. A nat 20 for Ren is a 24. Okay. Well, Henry is very preoccupied. I'm going to say he's falling behind the two of y'all just a little bit, kind of thinking to himself, which is somewhat uncommon for Henry. The two of you, with those insane perception rolls, walking through the halls of the university, because like there's an exterior entrance to the library, and then also just if you are already within the Mage Tower, that there's buildings connected. I realize I've never described this, and it's something that I think is cool, so I should describe it. The university is kind of a collection of single buildings built together. So it's like it's as if somebody just like built a building and then built another one next to it with a conjoining door, and then built another building with a conjoining door, and so on and so forth. And so it's kind of a bit of a maze. Like there are sometimes areas that are just completely locked off by walls that you can't actually get to. But for the most part, it is like you can basically get from any part of the university to another part without going outside. And then there's a few places that like you're just not allowed to go past without certain credentials, whether those credentials are being a student or being a member of the Mage Corps or being even higher up than that. As y'all are walking through the many corridors and different rooms, kind of down a hallway, y'all see Great Servant Rawl, and he is walking in the hallway. And this is very common for him to just be kind of walking and muttering. But something's a little weird about him. I mean, everything's a little weird about him. There's something
More than usual.
With those perception rolls, there's something that catches both of you a little bit. Normally, you assume that he is just like in constant communication with his patron. Something about the way he is gesturing and kind of turning his head as he speaks makes you think that he is talking to someone next to him. There isn't anyone next to him. But yeah.
Fascinating.
I think Call might kind of subtly slow down and like try to surreptitiously look more carefully.
Give me 1 second to get my right thing open. So you're going to kind of focus on it for a second?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you trying to hide that you are focusing on him at all?
How far away is he?
It's about a 35-foot hallway. So it's kind of like an H-shaped hallway where y'all are walking down one side of the H and he's walking the other way down the other one, and there's just like a conjoining hallway that y'all happen to see him across. It's about
Okay.
35 feet.
Okay. At that point, I guess, at that distance, I don't think Call is being as subtle as possible, but is also not like, rubbernecking it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So probably just turning, like they could just be like glancing down the hallway, but is not being as subtle as they could be.
Okay. Because you got a 27 on your perception check a second ago, I'm going to let you roll another one with advantage.
All right, let's see what happens. Only 23.
23. 23 is, well, I suppose. Ooh. On 23, you look a little closer, and he's still doing the same. Great Servant Rawl is still doing those same motions, but even as you look closer to kind of catch what's going on there, those movements, they do look like he's actually just talking to himself. He's just, moving a little more than usual.
Okay, so Call's assessment of this is that it on second thought, it does look like he's just talking to himself.
Yep.
Okay. At that point, Call's probably just not going to say anything then.
I will go as far as to say he even as you're like focusing in, you hear him reference master in his next sentence, like as if he were speaking to his master.
Well, see, now Brownman just thinks his master is invisible, but
Yeah.
yes. Which is also a really stupid idea, because can you imagine, like, your invisible master following you around all day on your stupid little errands? It's such a bad idea.
You don't know
But I
who his
love it.
master is. It's rude to ask, you know? So who knows who his master is? His master could be super boring.
His master is just a very powerful slug.
Okay.
His
Okay.
master's actually infatuated with him.
Oh my god.
That's a kind of a creepy dynamic.
This poor guy.
Y'all have never had a conversation with this man.
Okay, sorry, one question. He's Dragonborn, right?
Correct. He's a silver Dragonborn, and he has a black handprint on his face.
I forgot about that.
Me too.
Yeah, he's a pretty chillin' looking dude.
What does the black look like? Like a burn? I guess burns aren't black. I guess maybe if you're gray, burns are black.
I will say that it just looks black. You haven't gotten close enough to this man to inspect what it actually looks like.
Okay. Can I ask, and let me know if I need to roll for anything. He's Dragonborn, and I mean kobolds and draconians and Dragonborn are all of similar lineage. Have we heard any monster talk from Ander and Ander's people?
About Great Servant Rahl specifically, or about Dragonborns?
Either.
I'm going to say y'all haven't heard them say anything about it, and kind of the only evidence you have for it is that Great Servant Rahl is a really highly ranking person in the university. Like, he reports to Barnabas and Count Ander, and that's it. Saying that, I mean, he is of a rank with Kenda.
Yeah. That's just weird to me, but not that bigotry is logically consistent, but all right, we can keep going.
Okay. I guess we are continuing to head out towards the library.
All right. So, trying to remember what time of day we would be at right now. I think Pierre stayed at the tavern till like almost 2, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
thereabouts.
Yeah.
And then the following summary given by Ren probably wouldn't take anywhere near as long as Pierre was actually there, because there wasn't stuff happening the whole time. And then the walk to the university, to the library. I think we're about 3 p.m. So as y'all enter, Oren is there, sitting at a table. Very familiar sight of 2 open books in front of him, a pile of books to his left and a pile of books to his right.
What a good lad.
Ren is going to go to Oren's table.
All right. He is a little startled to see y'all, but very happy to see y'all. He sits up straight and just looks amongst the 3 of you, and I think is this the first time that all three of you have come to visit him at once?
No.
We
No?
did once
Okay.
before.
Okay. I know that all of you had visited him, but I wasn't sure if this was the first time that it was all three of you at once. So he looks at the three of you and he says, well, hi.
Hey, how are you doing today? I sound like myself at work. God.
Oh, man. He's the NPC here.
No. I have to scrap him now, roll up a new character.
He just kind of puts a hand on one of the books he's reading and just kind of grins. He's like, I mean, as good as I could ask for.
Did you have lunch today?
You've already given him the watch, right?
No, he's about
No, okay. It's been too long since we've played. Give me an insight check.
Okay. That's a 14.
Well, he rolled a 1 on his deception, so he very bashfully kind of looks at the ground.
Ren smiles non-judgmentally and takes the watch out and puts it on the table in front of him. And he tells him, pick a time that you're going to go to lunch every day, okay? You have to eat.
He looks ecstatic at the watch and kind of is absent-mindedly nodding because he knows that you're telling him to do something. And he doesn't snatch the watch up, but he picks it up rather eagerly, opens it up, holds it to his ear and listens to its tick for a few seconds, brings it down, winds it a bit, and then he closes it and then runs his thumb kind of around the edge of it, pulls a small tool out of his little belt pouch and kind of wedges it open very, very gently, making sure not to bend or mar it in any way. And just kind of opens the gear compartment of the watch and watches them turning for a little bit. And then as he's watching it, just like a small grin kind of spreads across his face. And then he closes it again very, very gently and runs his hand along that seam one more time and then looks up at you and kind of reverently bows a little bit and just says, thank you. And he's holding it in both hands, so it's completely concealed with just the chain kind of hanging out from between his hands.
Ren looks like he absolutely expected Oren to take it apart and look at it and is very just gushy happy about it. And he's going to... Yeah, he's going to ruffle Oren on the head, just ruffle his hair, and then Ren's going to go look for his books.
All right. He kind of... he kind of he doesn't look upset in any way, but he is attempting to return his hair to how he had it. Not that it was styled in any particular way. He just seems to be just trying to flatten it out again. Henry or Call, are y'all following Ren or staying to talk to Oren?
Call's probably going to stay long enough to just honestly kind of chit-chat about what Oren's been researching lately, see if there's anything interesting.
Give me just an intelligence check.
See if I can follow along. The fuck are my stats for that?
Can I also make one?
13.
And
y'all are able to follow about as well as each other. Not to say that you don't understand anything that he says, but he kind of is gesturing to different books as he lists off different subjects. He is, I believe he's told you all this before, he's very interested in the history of the area. and so he has a couple different history books. But he doesn't seem super. Well, I mean, they're books, so he is absolutely ecstatic about them. But like, he doesn't feel like he gained much information that he didn't already know from living in the area from most of these books. He is doing a little bit of research for Galdanis, double checking that is the name of my own NPC.
Right.
I think so,
Yes,
yeah.
Galdanis. It's really close to a World of Warcraft character. Yeah. Anyway, so he's doing some research into just like different kinds of alchemy for Galdanis, for work that he is doing with Galdanis. He is, you know what? Because I fucking love it and want to. He actually has some books about ferrying. I don't know the being a farrier. I don't know the
Yeah, okay.
not like not driving a boat
I was
on
thinking
a
the boat as well.
yeah, not boating on a river. But like ferrying. I don't know the correct way to say that word. He's looking into that a little bit, and then he has one that is a insanely nicely red leather bound book that has a very I'm trying to come up with it on the fly. A very pretentious sounding name that basically just says, "Here's how to make shoes," but it just says it as pretentiously as possible. Actually, I'm going to say that and a book on how to be a farrier are like open at the same time, and those are what he is reading right now. Because out of session, we talked about how races with hooves probably have really cool fucking shoes. And he, as we all know, our boy Oren, loves him some shoes. So he is reading up on, the two and how they're related. I think that's about. And then the rest of it is not much. There's not much more that he tells y'all about, but the rest of it is like mathematical equations and shit that is just like, okay, I get that that's science shit. Cool.
Call is going to express interest in that comparison and like wants to know what conclusions Oren comes to on that, on the shoe situation, and is also going to ask if Oren has any good book recommendations for any kind of geological or architectural histories of the area.
Okay. I'll answer your second question first. He says that there's a fair bit of stuff about the construction of the keep that's at the top of the hill. There's a fair bit. It is farrying. Thank you, Jenny. So there's a fair bit about the construction of the keep. It's not like full-on blueprints because you don't publish blueprints of a castle because you don't want people to know everything about it. And then also there's some stuff about the spreading of the city, because it is the city has grown massively over the last 70 years. So he points out a little bit of that, and then he himself. Well, let's see if he has. If that's shit he's interested in. It's super fun. He hasn't been able to find much that predates the founding of Storad, because although he does tell you that Storgard was not named Storgard, but it was a city prior to the founding of Storad, prior to Count Stor's conquest. It was a very small city. It had a tiny little college that is now the university, and actually the largest building of the city was the Bloodhunter Keep.
Interesting.
To say the largest building of the city is actually a little bit misleading because the keep was not within the city at the time. A large portion of the city was where the keep is now, and one would assume was demolished to build the keep itself, because that is the most defensible position of the city, at the top of the mountain with a cliff face on two sides and a steep slope on the other two.
Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, he kind of, I'm gonna use this man to lore dump. So yeah, because I've been excited to talk about this now. So Storad, upon Storad's founding, this city, which even in his study and even knowing all of this, he does not know the name of the city beforehand, was the largest city in the area by far. And even then, maybe was the city population was less than 2,000. This was a very lightly peopled area before Count Stor's conquest. Yeah, very small city. The Bloodhunter Keep was outside of it. There was only wooden fortifications around it. All of this now, there's the inner wall around the keep that is all cut stone. The outer wall is all cut stone. Like it is a massive undertaking to build this city. Just in this past 70 years. And already there are houses and buildings being built outside of the walls because there is no space within them anymore. But yeah, so he has not been able to find any written records of any of those things that you were asking for prior to the founding of Storad. And though you did not ask for it specifically, he doesn't mention anything underground in the area.
Okay. Call at that point is then going to just kind of decide to convey that information to Ren later, because Ren wandered off, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And let Ren decide if there was anything in Orin's info dump that was worth further investigation. But Call themselves is not going to investigate much further. Also, knowing Call, at this point, they're probably going to be looking around just a little bit to see if Father Uthgart is in the vicinity.
So he is actually, because you look for him, he's not hiding or anything, so you do see him. He is. I need to describe this a little bit. So the ground floor has bookshelves because it's a fucking library. And there's a little help desk that y'all have. When y'all have gone to ask people for certain things, that's where y'all have usually gone. There is a second floor. I'm trying to work out the words to describe this. So it's there's not a floor across all of it. It's more of there's the ground floor, and then above it, it's there's a large hole in the center of the second floor. And the bookcases go through the second floor. They rise up that high. There are bookcases on the walls on the second floor, but there's also another. It's still a desk that is open to people, but it is Father Uthgart's desk, and he is there, very absorbed in some dusty old scrolls.
Excellent. Call is going to relax a little bit. Also,
Alright.
what a great visual of that library.
Thank you. I felt like I was stumbling through it, but okay. So, is anybody going to help Ren look for books?
Call is now going to join Ren after catching up with Orin a little bit.
Okay. Henry, what are you going to do, just so we know?
Henry mentions to Orin that they're looking into something, and mentions that he can cast Detect Poison and Disease, and wants to know if Orin would be able to help him figure out some likely origins of a poison, and like if it's common, that kind of thing.
I mean, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of poisons. I know a few. Honestly, that's what I've learned the most working with Galdanis. We have been what he's been using me for the most part is researching antidotes. So I have some knowledge, and I could certainly try, but I wouldn't know unless I had more information than that. But I would certainly be willing to.
Okay, yeah. So I might come back later and ask you if that's all right.
Of course.
Thank you.
All right. With that, I guess I would assume that Call is going to be helping Ren search. So Ren, just go ahead and give me two investigation check with advantage.
Okay. And Ren is going to be looking for the book that the ring asked for, so Book of Fairy Tales.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be looking for anything that has either to do with like the founding, construction, history, present day weirdness about Storgard, and anything about sorceress origins that might catch his eye.
Okay. Alrighty. Go ahead and give me that roll.
Okay. Is that an investigation?
Yes.
That's a 3.
You did it with advantage?
Oh, with advantage. Let's see.
This Call's helping you.
Oh, that is an 18.
Okay.
Thank you, Call.
18 is good. Okay. You actually rather easily find some sorceress origins, like a section on it. It's not like labeled overhead, but like you kind of find a bunch of books about it, and there's absolutely no dust on them. And if you think about it for a bit, Kenda has access to the library too. Probably been looking at this.
Ren figured, but like also just to cover.
So for that, give me 1 second. I'm gonna go off of. Okay. You find very light mentions of aberrant mind sorcerers who are associated with psionic power. There's not a lot on them. There aren't a lot of them that are known. You find some mentions of what is called a clockwork soul, but so little is known about it that it's almost nothing. It's like it is mentioned that it exists, but it doesn't seem that whoever was writing these books was able to actually even interview a clockwork soul sorcerer. There is a shit ton of divine soul. people that have some kind of celestial blood, it usually presents itself either in Aasimar or sorceress origin. Of course, there's Draconic Bloodline, probably the most popular. For instance, you know that Quincy is a Draconic Bloodline sorcerer. There's nothing about yourself, a shadow magic sorcerer, that there's not even a mention of it. Storm sorcery is there's another good bit of information on that, and then wild magic is the only one that might rival Draconic Bloodline. And you even find like the lists of that has a bunch of the options of wild magic surges of things that possibly can happen when these people are just infused with wild magic from birth. When they cast spells, sometimes shit just happens. Okay, Bronwyn, your camera is wonky for me. Is it just for me?
It's fine for me.
It's wonky for me.
I will leave the call and come back.
I don't even know how to describe that. It was almost like a comic book. The color.
Yeah, it was odd.
Okay.
No, you're good.
Okay.
That's what you get on Bloodline.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Sorry. For Call, Ren was got advantage because Call is helping them on searching for books. So Ren is also looking for books having to do with sorcerer's origins.
Okay. So you gave me three things. You said sorcerer's origin. You said construction in the area, like history of construction and geological stuff. What was the third one?
The third one was the Book of Fairy Tales for the Ring.
Book of Fairy Tales. That is something that you find super easy. Like there's multiple copies on the shelves.
Sweet.
As for are you looking? You did mention specifically you were looking for at or before the founding of Storguard, yes?
Yes.
So everything you find is like details of the construction that starts about 5 to 8 years after the founding of Storad as a county.
Okay.
It's kind of a couple things are misleading there because you find one that's like that is dated like 8 years after the founding of Storad and claims that the work started in that year, and then you find stuff that is dated a couple years before that that is talking about the work already ongoing. So a little bit of contradiction that you find. You find absolutely nothing before those dates.
Okay. Is there anything that they have like in common, or like any like major things?
For the most part, so it does list. So you find a few that have like material lists and such, and so there was a fair bit of steel wood that was used in the construction of the entire city. Not like super widely used, but like it was used, and of course you know that would come from Steelwood Forest. You find note of a quarry that was used for all of the cut stone, which is almost directly west of the city, on the southern border of the foothills of Mount Scylla. Most of that kind of thing, like anytime you find reference to where they got the resources, it lines up pretty well. Like nobody's claiming that they bought anything from bought massive amounts of resources from a neighboring country or anything. Also, almost all the books you find unanimously speak of it being very peaceful in the area during the construction of the city. I need to check timelines for myself. Yeah. In that early time frame, there's no conflicts mentioned. But then starting it dates it in 1320, which would be which would be 8 years after the founding of, or the renaming of, the town to Storgard. It does briefly mention the Thieves' Purge, just like as a time frame type thing. It doesn't go into details about it. It just mentions this happened while this was happening, and specifically because during the time it was harder to gather steelwood. And yeah, I think that's about what you get.
Okay. Okay, yeah, Ren's probably gonna sit at the table and read very studiously through all of that until everyone is happy.
All right. And Henry, that was a very brief conversation you had with Oren. What else are you doing with because this research is going to take a couple hours to gather what I have already told you.
Since they're finding lots of stuff, I think Henry mentions that he might go to the guardhouse and heal the 6 more guards and cast detect poison and disease to get with poison. But he would wait to. What else were we gonna do at the guardhouse?
Ask where Vist was arrested.
Yeah, I think he'll say, he'll try to interview any other guards since he doesn't anticipate getting much more information. And he asks, should I also ask where Vis was arrested, or do we want to do that together?
I'm totally fine with you going to the guard tower yourself. You know what you're doing, and you know who to talk to, so.
All right. So I think Henry goes and does that after spending a few minutes with Call and Ren looking for books.
Okay. So we can go through the first bit of that rather quickly. So you heal those guards and talk with them and don't gain any extra information from what you already knew. They just really, especially the ones that you're getting extra information from right now, were ones that were down for the count pretty early on in the fight.
I think he would, before he goes to heal them, I think he would ask, because I think that last time there was 2 that we couldn't find. He would ask if they're around.
Yeah. I would say 2 different days, also at different times. I'm going to say that yes, you are able to speak with them as well. And again, it's just more of the same of, either darkness enveloped me or I was struck down. This is for the entire group that we're that you would have a chance to talk to. Yeah, they don't even have like descriptions of any of the bandits that were caught or killed, or just killed. None of them were caught. So you don't get anything there. As far as what the poison is, can you read me the text of Detect Disease and Poison?
Yes. Let me get it up.
And it's a spell, yes?
Yes, it is. For the duration, you can sense the presence and location of poisons, poisonous creatures, and diseases within 30 feet. You can also identify the kind of poison, poisonous creature or disease. It can penetrate most barriers except for stone and thick walls.
Okay.
So the kind of poison. Doesn't say the
Hmm.
specific poison.
So yeah, you wouldn't know. Trying to decide how that would ping for you. Kind of poison. I think I just don't know what. I'm not sure how to interpret that wordage. Identify the kind of poison.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, with identify, that's the word I'm going off of. I'm going to say that you speak with one of the like medics there, and between what you are able to glean from talking to it and what they know of how they were, but by combining your information with a medic, the medic is able to give you the name Talona's Embrace. You want me to spell that for you?
Yes, please.
Talona apostrophe S, and then Embrace. And so the medic thanks you that you were able to like identify it much better than they could. They were already working under the assumption that this is what it was, but it's confirmed with your description of what pinged with your spell. And from that, also from both from the spell and from what they tell you, you know that it is a brewed poison. Like this is a man, or this is a made poison. It's like you don't just find it somewhere. That is brewed from a specific type of mushroom that is found exclusively underground, as well as a whole bunch of other things like that are more innocuous, that aren't specifically deadly in their own right. But also it includes a snake venom that the Talona's Embrace as a poison is actually a few different poisons that are all results of using different types of snake venoms. They all have the same kind of base effect, but depending on what snake venom you use, it kind of changes the potency and possibly how badly it hurts. But that is what you get.
Is there any way for me to know what snake, how deadly this one was?
I'm going to say neither you nor the medic are well versed in snake venoms.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I guess give me a nature check. One or 20.
Another nat 1.
Yeah.
That's a 2.
What the fuck's a snake? You have no idea, and the medic, he treats soldier wounds that are usually like tavern brawl type shit. So he has some learning in poisons, but enough to know what Talona's embrace is. But he cannot tell. What I will say is he does have a crossbow bolt that was tipped with the poison.
Thank you. I was going to ask if there was like a sample.
So he has that. He said they had others because every person who was brought in had had at least one of these in them. They had others that they tried doing the testing of their own and weren't able to really come up with anything. So they still have like 2 or 3 that they're going to keep, but he gives you one that probably still has remnants of the poison on it. But it has been a while, so it'll be hit or miss for you.
Cool. Henry thanks the medic and goes upstairs. Who should he ask where Vist was arrested? Should he go and ask Ryan?
Well, if you remember, it was Trent who apprehended him. So like there wouldn't be any information to get from like a regular guard. If anyone here knows anything, it would be Captain Ryan.
Okay, Henry goes and asks Captain Ryan.
Okay.
He goes and knocks on the door, sees if
Captain
Ryan is busy, all that jazz.
He calls you in. Of course, he's busy. He's head of the chief. Mm-hmm. He's the chief of police in the largest city for hundreds of miles. So yes, he is busy, but you're also working on a case that has been given to him directly by the count, so he helps. So yeah, he lets you in. But yes, how can I help you?
So we are, making some progress, and something that we wanted to look into was more specifically about Vist and trying to tie that to any possible thing that we could find in this investigation. Do you happen to know where exactly he was apprehended and what items he had on him, or any details about his arrest?
Give me an insight check.
Okay, that's better. That is a 24, my guy.
All right. He tries not well enough to hide that he's a little, he's kind of exasperated by the concept of these questions. And you think it's not stemming from that you asked them, it's stemming from, the actual content or how he gained what knowledge he has. So he, very small rolling of eyes, that's like, it's well enough hidden, and you that you were able to get a good look at him to notice it, that you're not going to hold it against him. But he says, well, I don't have a whole lot. It wasn't my guys that picked him up. It was from what I understand, it was a warehouse. It was in the warehouse district. Apparently an abandoned or a currently not in use warehouse. There was just I don't even know. I don't know what he was doing there. I don't know how the most honorable Lord Hart found him there or followed him there, but I mean, I can. He gives you a warehouse number that you would be able to find it from the.
The most honorable Lord Hart. Does he actually call him that?
That is his official title.
You said it was Sir. You said he wasn't a lord. I remember this
So
distinctly.
sorry, I apologize because there is a little bit of a weirdness there. So he is technically not a lord, but the most honorable lord is the full-on title for the child of the title holder, who is not next in line. So his father is the title holder.
Lord.
Yeah, Lord Hart.
Okay.
And then I think even if he is the successor, even if he is the heir, he would still be the most honorable Lord Hart, which the more words tacked to it actually means that it is a lesser title. So Sir is acceptable when addressing him. When referencing him, technically the etiquette would be the most honorable Lord Hart.
Shell's the honorable lady?
No, she is just lady.
But wouldn't she, since she's older, wouldn't she be first in line of six?
From my research, they're twins. From my research,
yeah, but isn't she older?
Yeah. From my research, Whammons don't get the fancy names.
How dare you
That's
not
true.
change that?
Fuck them Whammons.
I have changed so much shit.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Anyway, and
You
also
should be more progressive, Ben. How dare you?
Also,
I'm
fuck
just
you.
kidding.
I am saying that
Yeah.
another thing that I will add on to that is that Chels is the heir, and I am going to say that she is lady because she is the heir, and that's the reason. So fuck you. Anyway,
The
back to
happiest of marriages.
it really fucking is.
You know, Ben hates women. He couldn't even stand being married to one. And now he's not.
Are we no longer rocking with Mark because Mark ain't rocking with us?
No, Mark is wonderful. In our many hours of D&D talk on our road trip last weekend, he's lovely.
That's the only qualification there is the D&D talk. It's not the
That's
years
it.
of back catalog or
No.
anything like that.
No.
It's
It'll
only
be-
the most recent D&D conversation that saved me.
Yeah. Not the 9 years, 9 years in a few days actually of time together. Nope.
Y'all old.
Yeah. We got a 4-year-old. Yes, we are old.
I don't have a 4-year-old. She's a baby. I don't understand.
I still remember you guys at prom.
Oof. No. Ugh. I guess the prom that you remember us from was okay. My prom was lame.
Prom was lame.
It was very lame.
Anyway,
We okay. How did
Okay.
we get here?
the cat doesn't know how the most honorable Lord Hart came about finding
Yes.
this or nor anything else, but he does know the warehouse.
Yes,
number,
he gives
right?
you the warehouse number. Other than that, knows basically jack shit. when Trent brought Vist to the guard, he was unarmed and wasn't carrying anything on him.
Trent was unarmed, or Vist
No,
was?
Trent was very armed.
I guess I was like, what?
Vist was unarmed and had no, wasn't carrying shit with him.
I think Henry says, I was under the impression that Vist was found with stolen items, and that's why they thought he stole from the library. Were those items ever taken in as a...
That's a DM mistake right there, is what that is. He had none of his personal effects. He did have the stolen items, including a... let me double check. What he did? He lists the stolen items that you know he had.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Rather than me searching back through my notes to relist the same items.
Yeah. I just wanted to clarify. Like, did Trent take them?
But yeah. So didn't have. He just had. And
he didn't have a wallet on him, kind of thing.
No, he did have an empty coin pouch.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to let your previous insight roll carry over to hear the exasperation in his voice when he says, as he's describing these things, he's like, he kind of seems very frustrated that he was getting it all through a translator, because Trent didn't say a goddamn word to him.
Who was the translator?
Chelsea.
Oh.
But Trent was the one on site, and according to technically both of them, Trent was the only one there. Trent was the one who apprehended him and brought him in. So there was, there's technically no first-hand evidence given. And that seems to be mostly what is upsetting Captain Ryan, is that, like, he's having to go off of multiple steps away from the guards in his employ to have apprehended this individual.
Okay. All right. Henry thanks him and does all the courtesy things that Henry would do, and then leaves. And then he gets to decide, do I go talk to Trent now? Or do I go to Hart House now? Or does Henry go talk to Call and Ren to ask if they think that's a good idea?
At this point, it's approaching dinner time, but not quite there.
Oh, okay. So then Henry would not. So I think Henry sends a note asking the Harts if he could come to breakfast. Which, did he already do that? Does he have a date set already with them? I'm just going to go ahead and say no because I don't remember. And asks if he can come to breakfast. Not the next morning, but the morning after.
Okay. I'm going to make a note of that, because otherwise I won't forget about it. Okay. Cool. Where are you heading to?
go back to the library to see if Call and Ren are still there.
Okay. They would still be researching at that time.
Okay. I think he goes and he tells them, briefly what he found out. And says that, asks if Call and Ren have anything that they would want to ask Trent specifically, if they want to go, or if they're cool with Henry just going by himself.
I think my being there would be a detriment. Please be careful.
I feel free. They're definitely more likely to talk to you than they would be to either of us. So you've got the best rapport with them. Just take care of yourself, okay? I know that the last conversation I remember you guys having was a bit intense. So take care of yourself.
Thank you. I'll be okay.
Yeah. Never mind.
Okay. So it's around dinner time now, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Were we wanting to go to that were we wanting to go to the tavern for dinner?
Not tonight. I think we were going to do that a different night.
Okay.
Because we just went the previous day for lunch.
That's right. You're right.
And then a suspicious weasel was spotted in the rafters today.
So not today.
Oh, she's probably in like Ren's jacket right now, by the way.
Yeah.
Does Call know this?
I mean,
Does
Call would have
Call
seen.
Know
Probably.
this.
Ren was hiding it from everyone except Call and Henry.
And also, we were in the room when we were leaving Ren's room, so we
Yeah.
would have seen Pierre go into Ren's jacket.
I am temporarily retconning this entire session to make sure that it is on the record that Pierre absolutely got affectionately praised like this by Call on her very, very good job.
You should.
She appreciates it a lot. Okay. Ren.
Oh, go ahead.
At some point, Ren would also like to talk to the ring.
Okay.
Not in the library, obviously.
What's stopping you?
The library. But yeah. Anyway, next time he's like somewhere enclosed and private, he'd like to talk to the ring again.
All right. Well, it's approaching dinner time. I am going to say that Oren, with his fancy new stopwatch, has put away his books and is headed off to go get something to eat.
Good boy.
Boy. I think on Henry's way into the library, because I would assume he'd see Oren before Ren and Cole on his way in.
Yeah. I mean, well, I mean, not specifically. I mean, it's just at the different tables of research. So, like, the three of them are kind of in the same area, although with the amount of books y'all would be researching and with the amount of books Oren has, probably not at the same table.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think before, because he has to say everything that he heard, to Ren and Call. Before doing that, he goes up to Oren and is like, "Hey, I found out the poison that I was talking about," and he says,
Telona's
Yeah.
embrace.
And holds up, like, I think he broke off the tip of the bolt and is like holding it and says, "And I have like a sample. Is there any way that I That's not more.
Chris.
So he will take it from you, and he's going to say, "Yeah, I mean, I can go run some tests on it." Looking at it, he can tell there's blood on it, and it's really, really old, or not really, but it's old. He's like, I mean, I'll do what I can. Judging by the looks of it, this is kind of old, but I'll tell you what I can. He pops open his little pocket watch. And he says, I probably won't be able to get the testing done tonight, but I could.
No, please do not do it tonight.
Oh.
You can put it off a couple days. Like, I know you have other stuff going on. Don't,
Oh, well, I mean, the tests that I would need to do aren't something I need to be constantly watching. So, I mean, I can get it started tonight, but it probably won't be finished until the morning. And you can either come see me, or I'll see you when I get a minute available.
Okay. Thank you so much, Warren.
He says, of course.
Henry does some sort of like lovey touch of like, fixes his hair or pats his arm or something like that.
Orin's sitting here like, all these people keep touching me.
We've adopted you. I'm sorry.
I mean, he's probably touch starved, right? Like, there's no way he's not.
There is visible evidence that he was touched quite a bit.
That's fair. That's fair.
I could. Let's not get
Dinner.
into the mental
Let's go to dinner.
stability of the teenage boy who was held captive for a year.
Let's go to dinner. Yes.
All right. Is there anything specific that y'all would like to do, or do we want to just move on to where y'all go after dinner?
Let's move on.
I think just move on.
All right. Where are y'all headed?
Ren probably goes back to his room. Kind of, would stop and ask, the others if they need anything else before everyone heads in for the night, just because ongoing investigation.
Call actually wants to check in with Ren for his opinion on something.
Okay.
Actually, nope. Never mind. I take it back.
Okay.
All right. So, is the party going to their own rooms?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
And Henry sends a sending to Bennett.
Okay.
Knock, knock,
It
knock,
is
knock.
sent in our
This
private
is
chat.
the end of the knock. No, the knock talk's already over.
Yeah, it's already over. This is the, hey, I'm not going to commit treason, but but can you help me?
Okay. I know Ren is going to talk to the ring. Let's handle that first, and then we'll go to Call.
Ren goes to his room and puts on the ring, and I imagine like when he's talking to the ring, he's talking like in his head. He's not really speaking out loud. So, hello, friend.
First of all, you hear the sound of just a slowly crackling fire. That's the first thing that comes to you once you put on the ring. And there is just, once again, that sense of like warm affirmation rather than words of greeting.
Oh, okay. I found the book you wanted. Did you want me to read you something from it?
That would be lovely.
Okay. So Ren's going to take some time and do that.
Okay.
Also, I do want to repeat, he probably does this regularly, at least like once a day, just to like say hi and, make sure the ring is not terribly bored or terribly lonely or anything. So
The ring seems very appreciative. And I will say, as you read, because it's a collection of stories, as you read from stories to story, the ring kind of sets a tone that remarkably matches every story very, very well. And like just ambient noise kind of as you're reading.
Ooh.
Kind of creates like the best reading situation ever.
Oh, Ren loves this. Okay.
And yeah, it's a thick book. It's a very wide collection of stories. So
Ren would ask. Oh, sorry. Ren would ask if the ring has a favorite.
For now, I'm just wanting to hear something read.
Okay. And I was also hoping I could ask you some more interesting questions. I do want to remind you, you are free to deny me answers anytime you want. I know I have a lot of questions, and it probably gets annoying after a while.
You just get the image of bubbles, just like a mound of bubbles slowly growing.
Okay. We'll roll with that. I wanted to know, do you know much about magic, particularly sorcerers?
Sorcerers were never something I studied.
Did you know any?
A few here or there.
Was there anything interesting about their backgrounds or where they got their magic?
I've never met someone with an uninteresting background.
That's a good outlook. Ren, friendship +5. So, well, anything unique about their introduction to magic?
An odd tone comes over the voice. It feels like this is very difficult to explain because it's both in your head and also I'm trying to describe the tone of voice. It's like it's the same voice but a different person speaking. And it says, "One was like you."
Okay. Would you tell me more about them?
The voice returns to the way it was before that one sentence and says, "That's something that someone knows."
Okay. Any other sorcerers you might know of? Or just origins? I just want to know more about the origins in general.
The sound of the crackling fire went away while you were reading, but since has returned and is growing a little bit louder. It's not like loud to the. It's not very loud, but it is growing a bit louder. And the ring says, "I never did much study on origins. They could be very powerful, but most were too caught up in themselves to even know it.
Thank you. And so another fun question for the night. I was wondering if you're very familiar with the city of Storgard.
The fire again grows a bit louder.
Okay.
Like there's loud snaps and pops.
Does it feel angry or uncomfortable in any way?
Not yet. I understand you're asking if the ring is feeling uncomfortable, but
Yeah.
also I would point out it is not uncomfortable for you either. Given that one of the times that you had a conversation with the ring, it did become very uncomfortable for you.
Okay, fine.
So as of yet, you don't get that impression. But the ring says, someone once knew way too much.
I unfortunately need to know a lot more. Do you know if I could talk to someone?
Now the fire starts to sound a little uncomfortably loud.
Okay.
And given that the ring is in your head, I think that I'm assuming that Ren is not going to push any farther on that.
No, Ren is just gonna stay calm and just see what the ring does from here.
So, as I said, the fire got a bit louder, a little bit to the uncomfortable level, and it's maintaining that for a while. Roll an insight check for me, please.
Hey. That is a 9.
Yeah. It's still loud. But you get, this is a very odd sensation to explain, in that it's like you're not looking at someone who's talking to you, but you get the feeling as if you were looking at someone whose face was screwed up, like they were trying to think of something to say. And then you once more hear the ring say, I don't know if I let someone speak, if I will be able to speak again.
Okay. I would like to know how to help you better. Is there something that you would like for me to call you?
You briefly get the image of the bubbles again. Just kind of, it's like a bucket that has bubbles that are just slowly overflowing from it.
Okay.
And the ring just says, I'll think on it.
Okay. Do you want another story?
without seeing a person nod, you still get the sense of nodding.
Okay. Ren's gonna pick another story with like a happy title.
Okay.
So
You added the happy title thing, so I'm not going to make you roll to see if you read the Shadow Tree.
no, Ren would distinctly and actively avoid that one. Gets to that one, skips it. So yeah.
Yeah. Do you end or do you take the ring off after?
Ren's gonna leave it on
Just leave it on?
for the night.
Okay. Ooh. Okay. In that case, we're gonna we'll come back to that.
Okay.
Don't make it weird. Anyway, let's go to Call returning to the barracks.
Alrighty, so Call is going to just go ahead and make their way straight back to their personal space. They're not really gonna delay, I guess, on that.
Okay.
And they're just going to first off, they're just gonna arrive at the barracks. So
Jax is actually up and out of bed, kind of. He looks to be just pacing in the barracks, walking very, very slowly. Kind of hunched over just a little bit. And as you enter, he just gives a little, like, it's honestly a very, very tiny motion of acknowledgement. It looks like he doesn't want to move his upper body at all, and he's, like, cradling himself. But he is walking.
I think Call's going to acknowledge that with a kind of a, hey, look who's not dead.
And he's just going to say, if you look close enough, you might find that you're wrong.
I love Jax! Oh, God. All right, Call's going to laugh at that. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's fine. Dirk is entirely unconscious, in, like, contorted in an odd way, in his bed. Not like thrashing around, but like oddly twisted. Like, honestly,
like,
he
is
looks
that comfortable?
yeah, it looks like when you find a 3-year-old asleep, like, and their feet are next to their head somehow. But you know, he is there fully asleep. Let me check my own Galram notes about some shit.
About some shit.
Where did I put it? Yes. Pim is not there.
Okay.
And also Andy is not there. Which
so it's just Jax?
Yeah, it's Dirk fully unconscious, but yeah.
Okay. I think Call's first job is going to take Truffle out towards like the training grounds and that sort of thing, so he can get some exercise and some fresh air.
I will say he was just hopping along very slowly behind Jax as he was pacing the floor.
It's real fucking cute.
Real fucking cute. This is the cutest ever. It's the cutest episode.
I love that. But yeah, so Call is going to sit out there while Truffle is hopefully hopping around and getting some exercise. And is going to start thinking about what to do about Erida, which is the ball that Bronwyn dropped when we went on our mission and did not pick up again upon our return. Because last we said we were just saying, hey, I'm hopping out on a mission, I'll be back, and has not yet done anything with the I'm back. So I wanted to have an answer to this after we were done with the ring stuff, but I got distracted by listening to the ring stuff and did not come up with an answer in time. So, I was hoping that this would be a little more active on Call's part, but it looks like the answer is no because of Bronwyn. So yeah, Bronwyn and Call are both trying to noodle on what to do about that situation. And if the DM is very nice and will allow it, I will... Call might possibly drop off a note for Erida that Bronwyn will articulate after the session.
Sure, yeah. I think
Fantastic.
I think we are probably going to end before the following morning. Anyway, so
yeah.
Honestly, go ahead.
Oh, honestly, Call's not even sure that Erida cares anymore, but is also not going to be called out by Erida for slacking on that personal request. So.
All right. Just sitting out in the courtyard for a while. After a bit, you do see, which at this point the sun is like starting to set, or the sun is setting,
Okay.
and you're actually going to see Zerka coming from the main hall, back to her office. Given that it's kind of, the end of the extended workday.
Oof. Call's gonna just kind of wave and acknowledge her.
She is going to approach you, and she's actually just going to approach in silence and kind of stand next to where you're sitting for a little bit.
Call is gonna let that silence happen. Though is going to kind of glance at her a little bit. Not like a I'm waiting for you to speak kind of look though.
After a little while, she just says, anything looking good in your investigation?
Definite interest. Definitely avenues worth exploring. Whether or not they're helpfully tied to our official investigation, I'm still figuring that out. We're trying other channels as well, hoping we'll find crossing threads.
Good.
I know you wanted to keep it separate, but is Dirk making any progress?
He's actually doing pretty well. nothing big enough to for me to want to break the separation and put you all onto it. But he's found more leads than dead ends, at least.
I'm glad to hear that. At this point, Call is actually gonna go ahead and give Zerka like a cursory overview of basically saying that they, after speaking to one of the Rhines, they were checking out a tavern in the warehouse district, saw a few deals go down by a representative of the Light Hands, and a deal that did not go down, but they're still trying to they don't have anything hard to ascertain whether this is genuinely helpful or more coincidental.
She perks up a little bit at the mention of the Light Hands. She's going to ask, what do you know of them?
So far, very little. They seem to be conducting business out of this tavern. There is a human representative, I believe they were calling her Erin, who seemed to be conducting the deals. There was an exchange of financial compensation for these deals, or promises of them, one-time payments by the sound of them. And she sits with a bodyguard, dwarven, I think. It was just communicated to Call, but it's been 3 weeks for Bronwyn, so if I'm wrong, correct me. Okay. And every deal that has gone down has been met with effusive thanks. So whatever the situation is, they seem to be garnering genuine gratitude and appreciation from their customers.
She is going to laugh when you say that.
Really?
And say, well, I suppose their customers will be happy with them. If you ask anyone north of, she names a street here, I just haven't named it myself, which it is the street that is directly north of the kind of brick and iron fence that separates the noble quarter from the rest of the city. So basically saying, nobles fucking hate them.
Okay. So Call's gonna say, so what do you know about them?
Well, it's difficult to get a thorough grasp on them through all of the shit that every last noble brings up about them. Basically, if a noble knows who they are, they've screwed over that noble. Recently, I've actually was considering whether or not sending you and your friends on this mission if you had the time. One of the owners in the rent district had a little visit paid to him. Apparently he didn't give these members of the Light Hands what they wanted, and had enough of his own guard to dissuade them from a fight. but I don't think it's going to end there. If they were that easily intimidated, they wouldn't be as much of a problem as they seem to be.
Interesting. What do their primary goals seem to be if they're screwing over nobles, but aiding their customers in the warehouse district? Is it financial? Is it rent? Is it...
The easiest way to piss off a noble is to mess with their money. And the nobles are pissed.
Interesting. I wonder what they get out of that.
If you find out, let me know.
I'll definitely do that. Well, we do have avenues of investigation going, but we're also not overloaded. If you think it would be beneficial to get us tag teaming on both of those at once, let me know.
If you're already working on a lead involving the Light Hands, I think that this could only give you more information.
I'm down for it. Do you want me to bring the others over in the morning for a debrief on the new assignment?
That won't be necessary. I don't have much. This renter, or this landlord is the correct word. This landlord reported it, but honestly seemed a bit cocky in himself, thinking that he had resolved the issue on his own. And then she goes into a pocket and pulls out a piece of paper, hands it to you, that has the address of his office within the rent district.
Call's gonna accept it, look at it, and then just kind of tuck it away. Carl's gonna chuckle a little bit and say, well, even if we don't find what we're looking for with Vist, maybe we'll find something useful in general.
That's all we can hope for.
How are you doing these days?
DMT speaking. Zerka isn't really a personal talk person.
Okay.
But
so Call would know that.
Call would know that, but it's up to you if. I mean, Call's also a kind of persistent little shit sometimes, so.
Well, in that case, I will rephrase the question. And Call will say, you holding up?
She's gonna give you a look with a raised eyebrow, and she's gonna say, "Oh, I keep things in the air."
Yes, you're quite the juggler.
She's gonna chuckle a little bit and then pull 3 knives and juggle them.
Oh god, this is the best thing that's happened to Call all day.
Sheathe them all, lean in close to the ear. No one will ever believe you.
You sick son of a bitch.
No, the dozen has seen her absent-mindedly juggle knives before.
I love that. It's still the best thing that's happened to Call all day. I maintain that statement. But yeah, so Call loves that. and is happy to see that she's got some room for levity in her day. So, but yeah, part of the reason Call is such a persistent little shit is because Call knows that if they're persistent enough, they get some very entertaining or very interesting tidbits out of Zerka, whether or not she's like happy about giving them. It pays off. Besides, is anyone more of a little shit than Dirk? Canonically, in this group, let's be honest.
Canonically, one of Dirk's defining features is that he is a little shit.
That's exactly my point. Call is not the little shit of the dozen, and I think that's important to know. But anyway.
So after just a little bit more time, Zerka continues into her office, leaves you to your thoughts.
Excellent. Go ahead.
I was gonna move to Henry, so if you're done.
The only thing I was gonna say is that before going to bed, Call's gonna do the Erida drop off, just confirming that that's on the books.
Sure. All right. Now I gotta count words.
Yeah. Bronwyn, just so you know, pretty much every pick crew you send, I also make Bennett, and I send it to Ben. So when y'all finally get a physical description of Bennett, you're gonna get a spam of pick crews.
Some of them
have very strong opinions.
Bennett has had some appearance changes throughout these, but I think it'll honestly be a very fun progression. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to say that the response is delayed by at least a minute. Man.
My brain is a broken record and is playing the opening song from Encanto just in tiny, tiny little chunks on repeat for about 30 seconds each before it skips to another tiny, tiny chunk and plays through on repeat.
The Family Madrigal song? Or which one?
Yeah, that one. Because right now, my brain is literally just yelling, "What about Mirabelle?"
What about Mirabelle?
I mean, the song does that for a while.
Yes, but it's not giving any of her responses to it.
Have y'all heard some of the outtake songs from Frozen 2?
No.
There's one that fixes everything wrong with that movie.
Not everything wrong with the movie. Everything wrong with
Everything
Kristoff
wrong with Kristoff and Anna's relationship.
Ooh, I'm interested in that.
Addie's favorite song.
It
right now.
is Happy Kristoff song.
Yeah. As compared to Lost in the Woods, which she used to love, used to be her favorite song, but that's sad Kristoff song, and she likes Happy Kristoff.
Gotcha.
Because this other one is in the major key, so it's happy.
Gotcha.
What is it called? Get This Right.
Gotcha.
It's pretty good.
Baby, treat you in the way you deserve.
Oh my god.
It's a good song.
It's good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and it fixes the whole Anna ignores him the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
She does?
She really did.
She really does.
And then she sings this song about how she's lost everyone important to her, her sister and the snowman, and then ends that list.
What about your live-in boyfriend?
Whom you haven't seen in longer than either of the two people you just mentioned?
Yeah.
Frozen 2 is okay. Kristoff and Anna's relationship is shit. They very heavily overcorrect the normal stereotype of the woman can't do anything without her man. They very heavily overcorrect to she just doesn't care about him. And, she kicks some ass throughout the movie. But it's like the few scenes that they do have together, they kind of heavily talk about how they're in love, but then he goes missing at one point and she's like, what, he's missing? And then leaves. Granted, she is chasing after her sister when she leaves, but does nothing to try and find out where he is. Someone just says he left and she's like, okay. And then it's bad. But in Get This Right, she proposes to him, which is not how it happens in the movie, obviously, and it's wonderful.
It's cute.
Yeah. Also, YouTube has a little storyboard for it to give it a little bit more spatial awareness that I think is very good. And I think that they should have left the song in the movie, and then they could have still had their relationship conflict, but just have it be they're engaged throughout the whole movie, where she proposes at the beginning, they're engaged throughout the movie, and then someone could easily just have a throwaway line to her saying that he's not caring or something, and it could still work. That's all I'm saying.
I like that.
That being said, I realize that we have very heavily detached from D&D, but I think we are going to end the night there, or almost end the night there, because Call's drop point is for midnight. So we'll say that happens kind of, between sessions and also overnight, and then we'll pick up the following morning next time, which hopefully, or when are we available?
All the time, forever.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll just keep going.
Let's see. We should be good pretty much any evening of the next week.
Okay, so do we want to try for Thursday or Friday?
Let's do Friday. Because that way, if we run a little late, those of us who have 9 to 5s will not be regretting it.
I'm the only one that doesn't, right?
Jenny works part-time on
Okay.
flexible hours. So Jenny's like the middle ground of that.
I mean, while I don't have a 9 to 5, I do have a all day, all night, every day.
Yes, you do.
All day forever.
Yes, you do.
She's
You
real
are
cute
a
though.
full-time dad. Yeah. You know, your job is at least adorable.
Is it really 8? Oh gosh. Hey
You
guys,
get fucked.
it's July tomorrow.
It's July in 10 minutes.
Same thing. I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream. Thanks for watching, everybody. And goodbye.